محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد. أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين علي ولي الله. اللهم صل على محمد. أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين علي حجة الله. اللهم صل. هيا على الصلاة هيا على الصلاة هيا على الفلاح هيا على الفلاح هيا على خير الأمل هيا على خير الأمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد. اللهم صل على
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. All praise is due to Allah for His bounties, and we ask Allah for His guidance and for His protection from all harm and sin, and His forgiveness for our shortcomings and our mistakes. As you know, in a few days we will be remembering the martyrdom of one of the noble Imams from the family of our Prophet, our fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad ibn Ali al-Baqir alayhim as-salam. And inshallah we will have a majlis on Sunday, and it is an honor for the Shia to attend those majalis to express our love and our loyalty to Ahlul Bayt. Inshallah, all of you who are able will attend. Today I would like to look specifically at a few of the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, because there is one part where we express our loyalty and we remember the biography or the life of our Imams. And then there is another part of our attachment to the Imams when we remember their teachings. The reason why we have that loyalty is because Allah has appointed them to be our guides and our role models. And that is a unique honor to the followers and the lovers of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wassalam, that their guidance, it gives us perspective and balance in our life and a set of priorities. And the best way to remember those priorities is to talk about and to think about the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. So we will, alaykum as-salam, look at a few of those teachings today. The first hadith from our fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salam, is one in which the Imam is reported to have said, "Kullu aynin baqiyatun yawm al-qiyamah." Everyone's eyes will be weeping on the day of judgment. On the day of judgment, everybody will be sad and worried and in a state of great anxiety. And when we are very worried and very sad, then not only is it inside of our heart, but it also shows on our body. And that will be because of how great the worry and the responsibility on the Day of Judgment is. So our Imam says that everybody's eyes will be showing their anxiety and their grief, illa thalatha uyun. But there will be 3 eyes, meaning 3 types of people, whose eyes will not be worried. And the Imam describes them, aynun saharat fi sabilillah, an eye that stays awake at night for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And look at that beautiful expression, aynun saharat fi sabilillah, in the path of Allah. Meaning anything that you do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that counts as ibadah, and it counts as something that will protect your eye from grief, worry, sadness on the Day of Judgment. And when you are not sad on the Day of Judgment, it is because Allah will give you a prior guarantee that you are forgiven and that you are going to go to paradise. Otherwise, without that guarantee, then that worry will be present. So what does it mean? Aynun saharat fi sabilillah. Well, it could mean that you spend the entire night awake in ibadah. You do salatul layl, you do tilawat al-Quran, you do dua, munajat. So this is one form of staying awake in the path of Allah. But the Imam doesn't just say fi salat, or fi tilawat al-Quran, or fi dua wal munajat. He says fi sabilillah. If you are doing something for the sake of Allah. A parent stays awake with their child who is ill, or a child stays awake for their parent who is ill, or a relative or a loved one is helping somebody who is in poor health, and they lose sleep, and their eye is tired and fatigued but not able to sleep, and they do that for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is also ibadah. That is fi sabilillah. If you are studying for a test, if you are studying and you want to get a good grade and you want to succeed in order to be able to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that is aynun saharat fi sabilillah. Because your goal is not that I'm going to get a good score and then I'm going to get a good job and I'm going to get rich and then I'm going to enjoy life. Your goal is that I am going to succeed and I am going to get a good job and then I am going to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is also fi sabilillah. Or for example, you have any other responsibility with your work, with your personal life, with your family. This also, as long as it is for the sake of Allah, is fi sabilillah. There is not any limitation on those examples. So the very first thing that will protect our eyes, meaning our heart and our body and soul together, from worry on the Day of Judgment is sahar fi sabilillah, to stay awake at night in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the bottom line is not to limit what it means to stay awake in the way of Allah, but it means that you are willing to go out of your convenience for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's one thing for me to say that, I'm going to make my budget and all of the money that I need for my requirements, and then all of the things that I want for my desires, and then a little bit extra, that's mine. And then if something falls out of my pocket into the couch, and I would have forgotten about it, well, I can give this in the way of Allah. And there are some people, we make our schedule, we have our requirements, our obligation, our leisure, our comfort, everything, and then if something is left over, then it is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the same thing can be said about any of the gifts that Allah has given us. This sahar fi sabilillah is more than just the nighttime, but it is a spirit. Because to stay awake at night, to burn the midnight oil, that means that you are going above and beyond what is easy and what is convenient, because you are prioritizing what you are doing for Allah. So if you call me at 6 p.m., I'm not at work, I don't have anything going on, at most I might just miss a little bit of dinner or something, and you say, can you help me? I have a flat tire, can you help me change it? I come, then that's easy. But if you call me at 3 a.m., now, if you can call AAA and get it taken care of course, then why inconvenience somebody for no reason? But if somebody needs your help, and if I'm not available for my friend or for my brother or for my religion at 3 a.m., I say, Allah, I shut off my work phone at 5 p.m. And then if you have to call somebody, find somebody who's on call. I'm not on call for your religion. That's not the spirit of prioritizing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, the point is that we prioritize. So nighttime has its own barakah. But there is a broader message, which is that you are not prioritizing your sleep and your comfort. You're not just going to give to the path of Allah when it's easy and convenient and you've done everything else, but that takes precedence. That's the first. Then, وَعَيْنٌ فَاضَتْ مِنْ خَشْيَةِ اللَّهِ, an eye that overflows with fear of Allah. Humility before Allah is not weakness, it is strength. Because if you have khashya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then none of God's creatures will ever cause fear in your heart. The only people who fear God's creatures are people who do not know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and therefore they are not in awe of Allah. And so, if we have fear of Allah, the worldly benefit is nobody can scare you and threaten you and defeat you, because you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is your creator. But then the spiritual benefit, according to this hadith of our fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salam, is that you will have tears of fear of God in this world, but you will have no tears on the day of judgment. And as I said, the eyes are the window to the soul. When you want to see if somebody is truly happy or sad, it's one thing for me to smile with my mouth, even if I am sad. I can fake a smile with my face. But the eyes will give you a window into the person's soul. So the eye is also a symbol for the soul and for the reality of a person. That fear of God will give you solace and salvation on the day of judgment. And then lastly, وَعَيْنٌ غَضَّتْ عَنْ مَحَارِمِ اللَّهِ, an eye that turns away from what God has prohibited. Now, in our time, the eyes are the most at-risk organ for temptation, because society has created all forms of visible temptation. Sometimes you are not even thinking about it, and you are certainly not looking for it. But you are checking your email. Maybe even you are listening to a dua or a religious program, and then on the side an ad comes, or your majlis or your dua is interrupted by an advertisement. This is the nature of shaitan, that he wants you to be pulled away from the ibadah. And in our time, even more than in previous times, the eye is the one organ that is most at risk for being caught without seeking and without intending. And the only protection we have is to train ourselves to be chaste, to train our eyes that if shaitan comes from one side, we turn to the other side. And if he comes from the other side, then we turn back. It is only how much you train your eye that will be able to protect you when those temptations come, and they will come. So once again, our fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salatu wassalam, he is reported to have said, كُلُّ عَيْنٍ بَاكِيَةٌ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ إِلَّا ثَلَاثَ عُيُونٍ. Everyone's eyes will be weeping on the day of judgment, except three eyes, عَيْنٌ سَهَرَتْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, an eye that stays awake at night in the path of Allah with the intention of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَعَيْنٌ فَاضَتْ مِنْ خَشْيَةِ اللَّهِ, and eye that overflows of fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and don't think that is weakness, but that is a source of strength. وَعَيْنٌ غَضَّتْ عَنْ مَحَارِمِ اللَّهِ, and eye that is trained, disciplined to turn away from anything that is sinful and that is prohibited by Allah and therefore harmful to our body and to our emotions and to our soul. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The second hadith that I would like to look at is a hadith which is narrated by our fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salatu wassalam, on the authority of Allah's Prophet Musa ibn Imran. It is said that Allah revealed to Prophet Musa alayhi salam, "Inna min ibadi man yataqarrabu bil hasana fa uhakkimuhu fil jannah." There are some of my servants, they seek nearness to me with a particular good deed, hasana. And the response is not just that Allah says, enter paradise, but Allah says that uhakkimuhu fil jannah. I will make that person a hakim in Jannah. I will give that person authority in paradise. They are not just getting their foot in the door, but they are an authority and they are honored by Allah in paradise. فَقَالَ مُوسَى عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ يَا رَبْ وَمَا تِلْكَ الْحَسَنَةِ. Oh Allah, what is that hasana? Prophet Musa asked Allah, so if there is a particular hasana when you seek nearness to Allah with that good deed, then it gives you that special rank in paradise. What ibadah is it that has that importance? And Allah reveals, يَمْشِي فِي حَاجَةِ أَخِيهِ الْمُؤْمِنِ قُضِيَتْ أَمْ لَمْ تُقْضَى. You strive, you walk, meaning you make an effort to fulfill the need of your fellow believer. You have a job, they don't have a job. So now you are trying to help them get a job. You have your hajat met, but they are worried or concerned or suffering because of a haja that they are not able to meet on their own, but you are able to meet. And so you work and make an effort for the fulfillment of their need. And then it is not just that you have to do it in order for you to get the benefit. Imam says that Allah revealed to Prophet Musa, قُضِيَتْ أَمْ لَمْ تُقْضَى. If the haja is fulfilled, then the person gets the benefit. But even if the haja is not fulfilled, you are not able to help them. You made your best effort. You made their worry your own concern. If you are not able to, you still get that benefit because Allah recognizes and rewards the intention. The outcome is not up to us, it is up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So He is not going to punish us and He is not going to reward us for something that is outside of our control. If the reward were to depend on the outcome, but the outcome is in God's control, then that would be contrary to God's justice and His mercy. So this is a special haja. It doesn't have to be fulfilled, but it needs to be, first of all, a priority, and then remember, يَتَقَرَّبُ بِالْحَسَنَةِ. Sometimes we do things out of habit. Sometimes we do things out of embarrassment. Sometimes, when we have siblings, they know that the other sibling is going to complain to mother or father, and so you avoid a fight because you don't want to get that complaint, you don't want to get that scolding from your parents. So this is not taqarrub. Fulfill the needs of your fellow believers, your family members, but don't just fulfill it out of a sense of personal obligation. Don't just fulfill it out of a sense of embarrassment and because you want to avoid the lecture from your parents or from somebody else. Fulfill it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember that. The barakah is there in fulfilling the needs of your fellow believers, but it must be taqarrub, for the sake of Allah. And the benefit is that even if you don't get recognized, rewarded, or thanked, one of the common complaints that parents get, I'm told, I don't want to say that this is anything that I have personally experienced. I will get a lecture about that afterwards. But sometimes it is said that, well, why should I always do this? They never do it for me. Many of us as adults, we also have that same kind of a feeling that it is a one-sided relationship. Well, if it is a one-sided relationship, you are earning the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You never wanted to have the other person reciprocate. In fact, if they don't reciprocate and you keep doing it, then it is an even greater act of kindness because now you are the only one who is keeping that bond alive. So you never wish for the other person to be deprived of God's grace. So you should never pray that your family member is ungrateful. But if they are ungrateful, then do it for the sake of Allah, and it is an even greater good deed because it is more pure and it is the only thing keeping that bond alive. So this is taqarrub. When you do taqarrub with fulfilling the needs of your fellow believers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards it. And the reward is وَحَكِّمُهُ فِي الْجَنَّةِ. They are in authority in paradise. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the ability to learn and benefit from these teachings of Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salatu wassalam, and to remain loyal to the path of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wassalam throughout our lives, and to have their company in the hereafter. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى علي أمير المؤمنين وعلى فاطمة الزهراء وعلى الحسن والحسين وعلي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن القائم المهدي صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين. صلوات. I seek forgiveness from Allah on behalf of myself and all of us present and all mu'mineen and mu'minat throughout the world. And I seek the continuance of the favors that Allah has shown all of us for our own selves and our families and our community. And I praise Allah for all of His favors, that praise, recognition, and gratitude is the source of the continuity of God's favors. In the second khutbah, just one more hadith and a beautiful reminder of the value of God's favors from our fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad ibn Ali al-Baqir alayhi as-salam. The Imam says, Salamatul deen wa sihhatul badan khayrun min al-mal. To have soundness of faith and to have health in your body, that is more valuable than wealth. And if it's more valuable, then don't sacrifice your health to acquire wealth. And don't sacrifice your faith to acquire wealth. If I truly believe that my faith and my religion is more important, then I ask Allah for the best of this world and the best of the hereafter. But if I need to compromise, then my health is a higher priority than my possessions. And my religion is a higher priority than my health and my possessions. But that doesn't mean that we should not value wealth and material resources. And then the Imam continues, وَالْمَالْ زِينَةٌ مِّن زِينَةِ الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةٌ. Wealth is an adornment of the adornments of this world, hasana, that is good. So to seek wealth is good. To be a good manager and steward of your wealth is good. Islam doesn't say that it is lacking in value, because it is a means and a resource for you to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it is not a priority. So if I have wealth and health, then I shouldn't take pride in that which is of a lower priority and disvalue something that is of a higher priority. And if I may be going through difficulties in my wealth, then I should not be grieved as long as I have my health and I have my salamatud deen. And even if I am going through difficulties in my health, as long as I have salamatud deen, I should not be worried. And that is very important, because mal is something you can make an effort for, but it's not in your hands. There are factors beyond your control. Sihhatul badan is something that you can be responsible for, but it is not entirely in your control. There are many people who exercise and eat well, and they still get cancer, God forbid, or they still have other health concerns, or they get into an accident. You take steps, but your sihha and your mal is ultimately not in your control. The most important thing is salamatud deen, and salamatud deen is entirely in your control. Nobody can take that away from you. No person or no circumstance can rob you. So if you value it, then you will always be wealthy, regardless of your circumstances. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us sihhatul badan and abundant mal, and most importantly, may He grant us salamatud deen. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna Allaha ya'muru bil adli wal ihsani wa ita'i dhil qurba wa yanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkari wal baghi ya'idukum la'allakum tadhakkarun. Sallu ala Muhammad wa alihi. Salatul Jumu'ah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.